My name is Haley Morrison. I'm 24 years old. And the day my family chose my sister's talent show over my surgery didn't begin in a hospital. It began years earlier, quietly, subtly, every time I was told I was fine. I grew up as the oldest of 3 children in what most people would call a perfect suburban family. The kind neighbors admired from the outside, the kind teachers smiled at during conferences, the kind strangers assumed had no cracks beneath the surface. My parents, Helen and Robert Morrison, were respected figures in Columbus, Ohio. My father was a high school principal, firm, dependable, admired by staff and parents alike. My mother volunteered everywhere: bake sales, fundraisers, charity walks. She was the woman everyone pointed to and said, "Now that's a good mother," to everyone but me. My younger sister Danielle was 16 and incandescent, talented in ways people couldn't ignore. She sang like she was born doing it, danced with effortless confidence, and walked into rooms already adored. Teachers bent rules for her. Judges remembered her name. Audiences stood without being prompted. My younger brother Tyler, 13, lived for basketball. He wasn't the star of the family, but he still mattered more than I ever seemed to. When he scored the winning shot, my parents were there. When he didn't, they were still proud. And then there was me. I was 24, working as a graphic designer at a small creative agency downtown. I paid my own rent, drove my own car, solved my own problems. I lived 40 minutes from my childhood home, far enough that no one dropped by, close enough that I was expected to show up when needed. I was described with one word more than any other: independent. When I broke my wrist in 7th grade, my mom couldn't leave her volunteer shift. I took an Uber to urgent care alone because I was mature for my age. When I graduated from college and my parents didn't attend because Danielle had a regional show choir competition, they said, "You understand. You're not dramatic like your sister." And I did understand. I understood that I was the child who didn't require rearranging schedules, the one who didn't demand emotional energy, the one who would always adapt, like an old car that still runs no matter how little attention you give it. So I kept showing up. Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, endless performances and tournaments. I sat in audiences, clapped until my palms stung, smiled until my face hurt. I congratulated, I supported, I disappeared. My boyfriend Evan noticed long before I did. "They take you for granted," he said one night after my parents canceled dinner plans for Tyler's basketball game. Again. "They're my family," I replied, poking at cold takeout noodles. Family shows up for each other. Evan didn't argue. He just asked quietly, "When's the last time they showed up for you?" I didn't answer, because I couldn't. At the time, I still believed strength meant not needing anything. I didn't know yet that soon I would need everything. And when that moment came, they would still choose her. The pain started quietly. At first, it was easy to dismiss, an ache low in my abdomen that came and went like a warning I didn't want to hear. I told myself it was stress, a demanding client, too much coffee, not enough sleep. I had deadlines stacked on deadlines, and pain felt like an inconvenience I didn't have time for. But pain has a way of escalating when ignored. Within 2 weeks, it became sharp, persistent, impossible to rationalize. I found myself doubled over at my desk, gripping the edge of my chair while pretending to review mock-ups. I stopped going to the gym. I canceled plans with friends. I learned how to breathe shallowly so it wouldn't hurt as much. Evan noticed immediately. "You're not okay," he said one evening, watching me curl into myself on the couch. "This isn't just stress." "I'm fine," I said automatically. He didn't smile. "Haley, please." That was the first time I felt embarrassed by my own denial. I scheduled a doctor's appointment the next morning. What followed was a blur of waiting rooms and sterile hallways, blood tests, ultrasounds. Then another ultrasound, longer this time, the technician unusually quiet. I watched her eyes linger on the screen a little too long. 3 days later, I sat across from Dr. Sarah Brennan, my gynecologist, in a softly lit office that smelled faintly of disinfectant and lavender. She folded her hands and didn't smile. "Haley," she said gently, "we found a large ovarian cyst." My stomach dropped. "How large?" I asked. "About 8 centimeters. I didn't know what that meant, but the seriousness in her voice told me it wasn't good. "We need to remove it surgically," she continued. "Soon. There are features we don't like." My mouth felt dry. "Are you saying it could be cancer?" She didn't rush to reassure me. That terrified me more than any word could have. "We won't know until it's removed and biopsied," she said carefully. But given the size and appearance, I don't want to wait. The room felt suddenly smaller. She explained the procedure. General anesthesia, 2 to 3 hours in surgery, recovery time. She spoke calmly, professionally, like she was explaining a routine oil change instead of the possibility of my life splitting into a before and after. We can schedule it for November 14th, she said. That gives us time to prep without delaying treatment. November 14th. The date landed heavily in my chest. You'll need someone with you, she added, to drive you home, to stay with you at least 24 hours after. Yes, I said instantly. My mom. I believed it when I said it. I left the office clutching a folder of paperwork and sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes before I could turn the key. The word malignant echoed in my head like a drumbeat. That night, my hand shook as I called my mother. Mom, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady, I need to tell you something important. Her tone shifted immediately. What's wrong, sweetheart? I told her everything. The pain, the cyst, the surgery, the uncertainty. When I mentioned the word cancer, my voice broke despite my effort to hold it together. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Of course I'll be there. Relief washed through me so fast it made me dizzy. What time? She asked. I have to check in at 6 a.m. Okay, she said. I'll talk to your father. We'll be there, I promise. That word, promise, settled into me like a lifeline. Over the next 2 weeks, I clung to that promise. I sent reminder texts, apologetic even for asking. Just confirming you're still good for November 14th. Yes, honey, it's on my calendar, she replied. Stop worrying. I called again the week before. Haley, she said, mildly impatient. I already told you we'd be there. I know, I said. I'm just scared. You're strong, she replied. You've always been strong. That sentence landed differently this time. Not comforting. Dismissing. The night before surgery, I couldn't sleep. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling while Evan sat beside me, his thumb tracing slow circles on my hand. They're coming, right? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. They said they'd meet me there. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay. His conference in Denver couldn't be rescheduled. He hated that he wouldn't be there in the morning. I'll fly back the second I can, he said. Call me when you wake up. I promised. At 4:30 a.m., my alarm went off. I dressed slowly, my hands clumsy with nerves, and drove through dark, empty streets toward Memorial Hospital, telling myself everything would be fine. They'd be there. They promised. I checked in at 5:45. By 6 o'clock, I was alone in a thin hospital gown, an IV cooling my arm, staring at my phone. No texts. No missed calls. I told myself they were running late. I had no idea yet that this was the last moment I would ever believe that excuse. By 6:05 a.m., I stopped checking the clock. Instead, I stared at the door. Every time footsteps passed outside the pre-op room, my chest tightened. Every murmur of voices made me lift my head, expecting, hoping, to see my mother's familiar silhouette, my father's stiff posture, some sign that I wasn't actually alone. Nothing. The nurse who'd admitted me earlier, Beverly, returned with a clipboard and a gentle smile that faltered when she looked past me toward the empty chair. Are your family members here yet? She asked. They're on their way, I said quickly. Too quickly. Traffic. She nodded, accepting the answer without question, and adjusted the IV line. The needle site still felt cold, like a warning spreading under my skin. At 6:15, I texted my mom. I'm all checked in. Where are you? No response. At 6:20, I refreshed the screen, as if that might magically make words appear. Nothing. At 6:25, my phone buzzed, but it was an automated reminder from the hospital app about my procedure time. I swallowed hard. The anesthesiologist, Dr. Kumar, stepped in next. He was calm and thorough, explaining the process with practiced reassurance. He checked my chart, asked about allergies, confirmed consent forms. And your support person is here? He asked casually, glancing toward the doorway. Yes, I said. The lie slid out smoothly, frighteningly easily. They're parking. He smiled sympathetically. That garage is a nightmare. We'll be taking you back in about 10 minutes. When he left, the room felt smaller. At 6:30, I called my mom. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I called my dad. Voicemail. The truth pressed against my ribs, sharp and insistent, but I kept pushing it away. There had to be an explanation, a delay, a misunderstanding. They wouldn't just not come. Beverly returned, her tone professional but kind. We'll need to take you back shortly, she said. Who's driving you home after? My boyfriend, I said. Another lie. He's flying in later today. She hesitated. And he'll be staying with you overnight? Yes. The words tasted bitter. Okay, she said gently. We'll keep you in recovery until he arrives. At 6:55, they wheeled me down the hallway. The ceiling lights blurred together as the gurney moved, bright white circles sliding past like stars I couldn't reach. The operating room was colder than I expected, metallic, impersonal. As they positioned me on the table, I finally let myself look around. No familiar faces. No whispered reassurances. Just masked strangers and the steady hum of machines. Dr. Kumar's voice floated above me. Deep breaths now. As the anesthesia crept through my veins, one thought broke through the fog. They're really not here. Then everything went dark. I woke to beeping. Soft, rhythmic, insistent. My throat burned, dry and sore, and my body felt impossibly heavy, like I was pinned beneath layers of wet concrete. The room was blurry, shapes and shadows swimming in and out of focus. Hey, Haley, Beverly's voice said gently. You're in recovery. Surgery's over. I tried to speak, but my lips barely moved. It went very well, she continued. Dr. Brennan will be in soon. I forced my eyes open wider, scanning the room. Empty. No mom sitting anxiously by my bed. No dad hovering awkwardly near the wall. Just a curtain, partially drawn, and a nurse's station beyond it. Is my family here? I croaked. Beverly's hands stilled. Her face softened in a way that made my stomach drop. Oh, honey, she said quietly. I didn't see anyone come in. The tears came instantly, violently, as if they'd been waiting for permission. They didn't come, I whispered. Nobody came. Beverly squeezed my hand, her grip firm and grounding. I'm so sorry, she said. Let me get you some water. She stepped away and I stared at the ceiling again, the beeping suddenly deafening. Dr. Brennan arrived about 20 minutes later, still in surgical scrubs. The cyst was removed successfully, she said, pulling a chair close. The preliminary biopsy looks benign. Relief surged through me so powerfully it made me dizzy. So, not cancer? I asked. We're very optimistic, she said. Final results will confirm, but everything looks good. I nodded, tears spilling again, not just from relief, but from the cruel timing of it. The worst fear of my life had passed, and I had faced it alone. You'll need someone with you tonight, Dr. Brennan added gently. Who's picking you up? My boyfriend, I said. He'll be here around 3. She checked her watch. That's a while. Is there anyone else? No. She hesitated, then nodded. We'll keep you here until then. But Haley, please don't be alone tonight if you can help it. After she left, I lay there with my phone resting on my chest, staring at the screen. 11 a.m. Still nothing. My fingers trembled as I scrolled to Danielle's name and hit call. She answered on the 3rd ring, breathless but cheerful. Hey, what's up? Where are Mom and Dad? I asked. Oh, they're at Lincoln High, she said brightly. My talent show is tonight, remember? My heart slammed against my ribs. Danielle, I said slowly, my surgery was this morning. There was a pause. Oh, was that today? She asked. I thought it was next week. It was always today, I said, November 14th. Oh my God, she said, sounding vaguely distressed. I'm sorry, but they're already here, and I'm about to go on. I woke up alone, I said. They chose your talent show. Well, she said hesitantly, this is kind of a big deal. There are scouts here. I closed my eyes. Put Mom on the phone, I said. I can't, she replied. Phones have to be off. I'm backstage. We go on in 8 minutes. You didn't even ask if I was okay, I whispered. I'm sure you're fine, she said. You're always fine. Then she hung up. I lay there, staring at nothing, as something inside me splintered beyond repair. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice, and I would never unsee it. I don't remember how long I lay there after the call ended. Time blurred. In the recovery room, stretching and folding in on itself. The beeping of the monitor faded into background noise, replaced by a hollow ringing in my ears. My phone slipped from my hand and landed face down on the blanket, vibrating faintly with notifications I didn't want to see. Beverly came back in quietly, her steps soft like she was afraid of startling me. Any word from your family? She asked gently. No, I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. And there won't be. She didn't push. She just brought me crackers and ginger ale, adjusted my bed, and tucked the blanket more securely around my shoulders. That small kindness almost undid me more than the betrayal itself. At noon, my phone finally lit up. Mom. I stared at the screen for a long moment before opening the message. Honey, just saw your text from this morning. So sorry, we got the dates confused. How did the surgery go? Dates confused. My chest tightened. Another message followed, this one from Dad. Your mother told me about the mix-up. Hope you're feeling okay. Danielle's performance was incredible. Incredible. Danielle texted next. We killed it. The audience went crazy. I wish you could have seen my solo. Mom and Dad said you're okay, right? I didn't reply. Tyler's message came last. Mom said you had surgery today. That sucks. Feel better. I turned the phone off and placed it on the tray table beside me, like it was something contaminated. They hadn't forgotten. They hadn't mixed up the dates. They'd known exactly when my surgery was, and still chosen to sit in an auditorium applauding my sister while I lay unconscious on an operating table, terrified and alone. At 1:45, the sliding doors at the end of the recovery wing opened, and I saw Evan's familiar stride moving quickly toward me. He looked exhausted, his jacket still slung over his shoulder, hair slightly disheveled from travel. He stopped short when he saw my face. Hey, he said softly, sitting beside me and taking my hand. I'm here. That was it. That was all it took. I broke. They didn't come, I said, my voice cracking. They went to her talent show. His jaw tightened, anger flashing across his face before he forced it back down. I'm so sorry, he said. I should have been here. No, I whispered. You didn't choose this. They did. The discharge nurse went over instructions while Evan listened carefully, asking questions, taking notes. I stared at the wall, numb. By 3:30, we were back at my apartment. Evan helped me into bed, filled my prescriptions, and tried to get me to eat. I couldn't. My body felt empty, like something vital had been hollowed out. The buzzing started again around 4. Calls, texts, missed calls from numbers I knew by heart. Do you want me to check them? Evan asked gently. I shook my head. But later, when he stepped into the kitchen, I reached for my phone anyway. Mom had sent another message. We really thought it was next week. Please don't be upset. Upset. As if that was all this was. I typed a response, deleted it. Typed another, deleted that too. No combination of words could explain what they'd done, or how deeply it had cut. When Evan came back, I handed him the phone. They chose her, I said quietly. This wasn't a mistake. He nodded slowly. I know. That night, as pain medication pulled me in and out of sleep, one thought kept resurfacing. This wasn't just about the surgery. This was about every time I'd been told I didn't need as much. Every time I'd been expected to understand. Every time they assumed I'd forgive. Something had shifted. And I knew, with a clarity that terrified me, that nothing between us would ever be the same again. I spent the next 3 days in a haze of pain medication, half sleep, and a silence that felt heavier than any argument I'd ever had with my family. Evan took time off work without hesitation. He set alarms for my medication, helped me to the bathroom when my legs felt weak, and sat beside me when the pain spiked unexpectedly. He didn't rush me. He didn't minimize what had happened. He just stayed. That alone told me everything I needed to know about the difference between obligation and love. My phone remained off. Not on silent, not face down, off. On the 4th day, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't loud or impatient, just firm enough to be intentional. Evan looked at me from the kitchen doorway. I'll handle it, he said. I heard my mother's voice before I saw her. I need to see my daughter. She's resting, Evan replied, his tone calm but immovable. She doesn't want visitors. That's ridiculous, Mom snapped. She's being dramatic. I came to apologize. You had your chance to be there in person, Evan said, when it actually mattered. There was a pause. We got the dates confused, Mom insisted. It was an honest mistake. No, Evan said quietly. It wasn't. I pushed myself out of bed, ignoring the protest from my body, and stepped into the hallway, one hand braced against the wall. You need to leave, Mom. She turned, startled, then rushed toward me, tears already forming. Haley, please, she said. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain, I replied. My voice was steady in a way that surprised even me. You knew my surgery was November 14th. I reminded you. You promised you'd be there. We didn't think... That's the problem, I interrupted. You didn't think. You didn't think about how scared I was. You didn't think about the fact that I was facing the possibility of cancer. You didn't think about how maybe, just once, I needed my mother. Her face crumpled. Danielle was counting on us, she whispered. She would have been devastated if we weren't there. And I wasn't devastated waking up alone after surgery? I asked. Lying there not knowing if I had cancer? You were fine, she said weakly. The surgery went well. That doesn't erase what you did, I said. You assumed I'd be fine because I always am, because I always handle things alone. Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't care, I said. The words felt final, clean. Please leave. She shook her head desperately. Haley, don't do this. Don't shut us out over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, I said. It was 24 years of being the child who doesn't need anything, who understands, who forgives. I'm done. What does that mean? She asked, her voice trembling. It means don't contact me again, I said. Any of you. She sobbed openly now. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. Evan gently guided her toward the door. She looked back at me, searching my face for something. Guilt, hesitation, regret. There was nothing there. When the door closed, the silence felt different this time. Lighter. The calls started almost immediately. My dad, Danielle, Tyler, even extended family members who had apparently been fed a carefully edited version of the story. I blocked them all, one by one, without shaking hands, without second thoughts. I wasn't angry. I was finished. And for the first time in my life, choosing myself didn't feel selfish. It felt necessary. The biopsy results came back 3 days later. Benign. I sat alone in my car in the hospital parking lot when Dr. Brennan delivered the news, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Relief came in waves, first sharp and dizzying, then slow and heavy. I cried there, not pretty tears, not quiet ones. I cried because I wasn't sick. I cried because I had been terrified. And I cried because the people who were supposed to sit beside me through that fear had chosen not to. I drove home afterward and didn't call anyone. That night, Evan brought home Chipotle and we ate on the couch, my feet tucked beneath me, the television on mute. He raised his soda can in a small, lopsided toast. To good news, he said. To peace, I replied. The holidays came and went without me. Christmas lights went up around the city, but my phone stayed silent. My mother mailed a card to my apartment, thick with paper and intention. I read the first paragraph, about family, forgiveness, how I was breaking my father's heart, and threw it away. In January, Danielle showed up at my office. My coworker Angela leaned over the cubicle wall. There's a teenager in the lobby asking for you. I knew before she finished the sentence. Danielle looked smaller than I remembered. Her confidence dulled, her shoulders slumped like she was carrying something too heavy for her age. Can we talk? She asked. No. 5 minutes, she pleaded. Please. I agreed, not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to hear her say it out loud. I'm sorry, she said, for the talent show, for everything. I was selfish. We all were. I studied her face. What do you want from me? I miss you, she whispered. Tyler misses you. Mom and Dad, they're miserable. Good, I said calmly. Her eyes filled with tears. I was 16. I didn't understand. You're 17 now, I replied, and you still thought showing up at my workplace was appropriate. She flinched. Don't come here again, I said. This conversation is over. I walked away and didn't look back. In March, Evan proposed. It wasn't dramatic. No crowd, no cameras, just dinner at our favorite Italian place, a walk along the river afterward, and him kneeling under the stars with shaking hands and the simplest question. I said yes without hesitation. We married in May in a small garden ceremony just outside the city. Friends, laughter, no tension, no walking on eggshells, no wondering who would be disappointed if I made the wrong choice. My parents found out through social media. My mother called from a number I hadn't blocked yet. You got married without us? She asked, her voice tight. Yes. How could you do that to us? You weren't invited. We're your parents, she said. This is cruel. You're strangers who share my DNA, I replied. That's all. You're punishing us over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, I said. It was a lifetime. The surgery was just the moment I finally believed you. She asked about holidays, about future children. My children will never feel like an afterthought, I said. I'm breaking the cycle. I blocked the number. My father tried once more, showing up at our house in June. Evan turned him away before I even knew he was there. He left a letter. I opened it 3 days later and found exactly what I expected. Apologies without accountability, guilt without responsibility. I threw it away. Life grew quiet. Good quiet. I was promoted to senior designer. Evan and I bought a house in Upper Arlington. We talked about kids. Sometimes reminders of my family surfaced. A song Danielle used to sing, my father's favorite team on TV, my mother's perfume on a stranger at Target. I felt a flicker then, not regret, just the ghost of something that never really existed. 2 years later, my aunt reached out through LinkedIn. Your mom is sick, stage 2 breast cancer. She's asking for you. I stared at the message for a long time. Evan found me later that night, sitting in our home office, unmoving. "You okay?" he asked. "My mom has cancer," I said. He sat beside me and took my hand. "And how do you feel?" I searched myself honestly. "I don't know if I'm supposed to feel something," I admitted. "But I don't." "That doesn't make you bad," he said. "It makes you human." I remembered waking up alone in recovery. I remembered the fear, the cold, the realization. "She chose a talent show," I said quietly. "So were you," he replied, "and she chose something else." I deleted the message. According to my aunt's later attempts, also blocked, my mother recovered. She'd hoped the diagnosis would bring me back. It didn't. When someone shows you, again and again, where you stand in their priorities, there comes a moment when you either keep begging for change or you finally believe them. I chose to believe them, and I walked away for good.